Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Pagan's Witchy Corner. My name is Pagan, and today I'm joined by a very familiar and very wonderful guest who I have been a longtime fan of, and that is Madame Pamita. Madame Pamita, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you, and excuse me while I fangirl for a moment because, oh my God, you're actually here.
Oh my gosh, this is so fun. I'm so glad to be a part of this and to get to talk with you about one of my absolutely favorite magical topics. So,
So today we're going to be talking about your book, which is Baba Yaga's Book of Witchcraft. It's Slavic witchcraft from the Witch of the Woods. It's a beautiful book. If anybody has not picked up a copy of this, please go do so. It is fantastic. It's a really great insight, especially if you're somebody who already works with Baba Yaga, then it's going to be a great book for you to pick up. So make sure you do that. But let's dive right into it. So, in your bio, it obviously talks about you being a Ukrainian witch. So, how did you come into the service of Baba Yaga?
it's interesting because growing up, my Ukrainian mother would tell me stories, and Baba Yaga, of course, would show up because of just Slavic lore. She appears, people kind of sort of misidentify her as a Russian witch. Baba Yaga is a Russian spirit, Russian witch, but actually, she exists in all the Slavic lands under different names. She might have Yezi Baba as a name, or Baba Yagishna, or some other name. But this idea of there being a woodland forest spirit who is a crone exists in all the Slavic lands. So I grew up hearing these stories, and then she sort of was in the back of my mind. I really wasn't focused on her. But as I entered into menopause, I was kind of like looking around and going, all right, where are my crone role models? you know,
Mhm.
maybe Betty White, maybe, I
I
don't know,
mean,
but
God's bless Betty White, and may she be resting well and partying well in whatever afterlife she's in. But yes,
yes,
God bless her.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like the Golden Girls, maybe,
Yes.
but it wasn't that. There weren't really that many. I mean, B. Arthur for sure, but there
Yes.
weren't that many crone role models, and certainly not in the magical realm. They exist out there, but there of course are many more mother and maiden iterations that we see, and certainly our culture really pushes those two identities more than they do the crone. So she really came to me, and when I'm a spiritualist. I work deeply with spirits, and not just spirits that are have humanity, but spirits of the land, spirits of nature, all kinds of spirits. So when a spirit, I don't really kind of actively go and look for spirits. They come to me and they tell me what they want me to do.
Mhm.
So she came to me and said, I want you to write a book about Slavic magic, basically, and I want you to work with me. And so I began doing research and trying to find Ukrainian, magic and lore and all kinds of things. I knew some, but from growing up, Ukrainian American, but the magic behind them was deep, deep research and looking into practices that have existed for millennia and all kinds of things. So, yeah, that's how we got together, and we have been working together ever since. So, yeah, it was through the book, really. The book was the product that she wanted out there. And I will say one thing,
Mhm.
th- the evidence to me that this was her urging me on is that the book, if you know the process of writing a book, it
Mhm.
takes years. You first come up with the idea, you present it to your editor, and then then they go and present it and pitch it. Then it comes back to you, yes or no. And then if it's a yes, you write a proposal, then you write the proposal, you pitch it again in that more detailed form. It's like a long process that takes 2 or more years for a book to come out
Mhm.
through a traditional publisher. So the fact that this book came out right when Russia did the full scale invasion into Ukraine
I remember
was
that.
like
Yeah, it did
mind
come out then.
blowing. Yeah. And prior to that, I'm like, both my editor and I are like, is anyone interested in Ukrainian anything? There are a lot of Ukrainian diaspora people in the world, but it's so niche, it's a pretty niche thing. And then when this, of course, when the invasion happened, Ukraine was in the front pages of the news. And so it was absolutely divine timing. So yeah.
I love that, and I love that the book did come out. And I do remember when the book came out because I was, talking with the publicist I work with at Llewellyn, and I was saw the book and I was like, okay. And I remember right when the Ukrainian war began, and of course, all of us, anybody who is interested in trying to help anybody who's been disenfranchised, especially by war, the group that I was working with at the time, we were like, how can we help? I mean, we're a world away. How do we help? And so we actually did a cultivated hex on Putin for his terrible idea of deciding to do this. And it was through Baba Yaga who actually helped us write what we were going to say. And it was this beautiful, beautiful curse that we ended up writing. And I still have a copy of it to this day because it's not that it was incredibly, I guess you could say, vicious in that regard. It was beautifully done. And most of the stories like that with Baba are like that, where she will present something that's very dark and twisted, but also in
Hmm.
such a beautiful capacity. And so that's one of the reasons why I still have a copy of this, because it's just stunning the way that it turned out. And I
Mm.
love the way that she was involved with it. So that was my first like true introduction to Baba. Of course, you had heard about her many, many times because of the fact that so many people are like, be careful with Baba Yaga, you be careful. And it's like, well, yeah, but I also heard other stories about other deities that I now work with that were just as dark and terrifying. So, kind of leading into that dark and terrifying, but also empowering female figure, how do you interpret her role in Slavic folklore, and how does that shape the magic within the book?
Well, we see story. I mean, one of the things you have to understand, and I came to really deeply understand as I was working on this book, is that folk tales and fairy tales are encoded messages,
Mm-hmm.
right? That they're encoded. It's not, and it's encoded with more than you think. So when we look at, um, for example, uh, fairy tales, and we look at them with a magician's eye or a witch's eye, we can see that they talk about magic. I mean, fairy tales talk about magic. Every fairy tale has magic in it. And so when we can find old beliefs and old traditions in these fairy tales. Now, fairy tales were a way when a dominant religion comes in that you can pass on your older animist or pagan lore.
Mm-hmm.
So you might have a dominating religion that is coming in, and for example, Christianity coming in and saying you all are need to be converted. And so, and if you don't, there's going to be consequences because it is, I mean, and I can speak to Christianity and Catholicism in particular, that it is a power structure.
Yes.
It is a hierarchy and a power structure and patriarchy. And so when this dominant religion comes in, you are ostracized or even punished in some way for practicing older pagan and animist beliefs. So one of the ways that people cope with that is that they then put a veneer of Christianity over their pagan beliefs. And we see this in Slavic traditions, we see this in Celtic traditions and all over the place, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
like for example, in Celtic, you know, Celtic lore, we have Bridget, the goddess, and she becomes Saint Bridget, right?
Yes.
So, um, so one of the ways that we can continue to tell about our beliefs and our magic is through fairy tales because and folk tales, right?
Mm-hmm.
If someone goes, well, why are you passing on this information that is forbidden? You can go, oh, it's just a story, just a story. It's no big deal, right?
Right.
So, so when we look at Baba Yaga stories, when we look at the older stories, she tends to be a more ambiguous character, meaning she could go either way, right? If it's like those classic fairy tales where the good child gets rewarded and the bad stepsister or stepbrother or bad child gets punished, right?
Mhm.
And so that ambiguity is really the essence of her nature. Now, of course, Baba Yaga is not going to be turned into a saint, anything. So she then becomes demonized by the powers that be. Yeah, that's an evil spirit, right?
Right.
So then the later stories about her where she's an ogre, she's eating children, she's, just wreaking havoc, those tend to be later stories. So we can look at them as possibly a one-sided view of her, but it's propaganda. Honestly, it's propaganda. She's definitely not to be trifled with. She's definitely a powerful uh, spirit, but she is not an ogre. She's not just going out there and just wantonly destroying things. She's punishing, as we all want to do right now. I mean, oh my God, I feel like I want to become her in her ogre form, really. But she's there to punish the people that are transgressing. Most of the time, it's either transgressing her or transgressing against the forest, being disrespectful.
Mhm.
And then there's some consequence to pay. So if you come to a spirit like that with deference and respect and honor and work with them, they're going to reward you. But if you come in like you're the king of the castle and start like ordering them around, you might find that things go awry, you know?
Yes, and that holds true in all of a lot of her mythologies that we get to read about, and how, everyone's like, oh well, you, especially there was a one that I remember where there was this man who came in and it was like, I don't care that it's Baba Yaga's house, I'm gonna eat her food, I don't care. And then
Mhm.
she ends up basically teaching him a very harsh lesson, as she well does. But I love a lot of her stories and how she empowers this, and especially empowers a lot of women to kind of take charge of their own lives, and gives them kind of that strength to move forward with whatever they need to do in whatever story it may take on.
Yeah,
So,
she's absolutely non-patriarchal.
yes,
You
and
can she's the opposite.
basically, in one of her stories where she was supposed to have gotten, she was going to get married and all this other stuff, and it was like, no, I want to just go be the old lady in the woods that scares people instead. That sounds like more fun.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah,
that's a mood. I can vibe with that mood actually. So
yeah.
yeah. um Now, also in your book, you definitely talk about the walking the path of Baba, and you talk about many of the different ways to incorporate a lot of the Slavic witchcraft within your practice. So, for a modern practitioner, how would they go about embracing her wisdom? Because a lot of her wisdom that we see in the folklore doesn't really fit in a modern tale. So, how would you recommend that they kind of embrace some of that wisdom into today's world?
Well, what's interesting is that a book that is really inspired kind of has a life of its own. And I'm not saying, "Oh, my book is so inspired," like patting myself on the back. I'm saying that this was, and it was a collaboration between me and a spirit. So the
Hmm.
part that's really inspired and that becomes a discovery for the artist. And I'm talking about anything, a piece of music, a painting, a book, a poem, a dance, where you have that flow moment where you're like, this is coming through me. It's not from me. And so then you can look at the product and go, wow, that's amazing.
Hmm.
Right. If you create, you've had that experience at some point, and it's just this magical thing that you cannot make happen. It just sort of has to, things have to align and it just happens. Of course, you can set yourself up for it, but you really can't force it, right? You can't force flow.
Hmm.
So when I was writing this book, and I have to give a wonderful credit to my editor, Alicia Gallo. She was so instrumental in helping me to kind of sift through a very tangled mess that I came with and say, you need to really distinguish between Baba Yaga's voice and your voice because they kind of sound the same. I'm like, okay, noted. And so then really what I talk about in the book is she gives the lore and the background and the folk understanding of what this what the different acts are, let's say magical activities are. And then I give a context of like, oh, okay, well, here's how you can do it without having a giant loom in your house or having, a farm or having some of these things that people, the original people that were telling stories would have had access to.
Hmm.
So, but one of the things that kind of happened with this book is that I realized I meshed a lot of different Baba Yaga tales together to make the story that is interwoven in the book. There's a little, every chapter is kind of a little episode in the fairy tale. And then Baba Yaga talks, and then I talk. And that fairy tale is the basis for the fairy tale is a story called Vasilisa the Brave or Vasilisa the Beautiful or Vasilisa the Fair. It kind of
Hmm.
translates into different things about a young woman who goes to Baba Yaga, and Baba Yaga gives her a bunch of tasks, and then she completes them and gets the fire from Baba Yaga and brings it home, and it destroys her evil stepmother and evil stepsisters. So that story is, the basis for it. But then as I was rewriting it and I was including things from other tales, and then coming to the end, in the end, often in the tale, the girl goes off and gets married to the, some royalty guy, right?
Right. Yeah.
A prince or this or that, or king or whatever. And I'm like, wah, wah, that's not really a, helpful for anybody.
Right. Of
And
course.
kind of it, I mean, and so what I realized was as I was getting to the end of the story is that she is being initiated by Baba Yaga. And Baba Yaga really, that is her role, is an initiator. So if you go through all that roundabout talk is to say, if you go through the exercises in the book, the magical activities in the book, you don't have to do all of them, but as you do them, select the ones that work for you and do them, you are becoming initiated. The book itself is an initiation. The story is an initiation for sure. But the actual things that I tell you how to do in the book then become that initiation. So if you take the time to weave something or spin some fibers or dye some eggs in this traditional Pasunki way or do this embroidery. These are all things that are actually very counter to our modern culture. To slow down and to make something by hand is the opposite of what the majority of people do. So if you're able to do that, you will show your devotion for sure. And you will become initiated because the act of doing it will inform you in some way. It will teach you something, it will show you something, and it will grow your magical practice and connect you to Baba Yaga for sure.
First of all, that's just absolutely gorgeous. And secondly, just excuse me while I fangirl for a moment because holy crap, that was beautiful. Wow. I'm my jaw's on the floor. So
No,
that being said, you have painted this beautiful imagery of Baba Yaga and how you have incorporated all those different things and also kind of reimagine some of her myths to kind of fit more into the modern world, which makes it so much more impactful and allows her to be kind of transcended from an ancient old crone like deity into the more modern deity that could blend in with today and help with today's problems of sorts. And so just chef's kiss. Wow, that was
thank you.
incredible.
But
um
it's really a collaboration. I mean, I'm only co-authoring really when I really see that as a co-authored book. And I think she revealed that to me. I didn't set out going, "Oh, I'm going to write this book that's going to be an initiation and talk about initiation." It was discovered after I wrote it and I go, "Holy crap." So that wasn't me. That wasn't me at all.
That sounds like true Baba fashion from the bits that I have worked with her. And, I have coven mates who do work with her, and I've helped facilitate some channels for them so that way they could communicate without having, that whole communication of channeling as well in their mind. So it was easier for them. So I've helped channel Baba for them, but it's so amazing to see how that initiation that you're referring to really does transfer into the, I guess, UPG, or the unverified personal gnosis, of what we've experienced with her, because it really does translate into a similar way, that she does bring this integrity and this amazing energy that just allows you to be like, I'm going to teach you something. And it's not in that whole, you should be afraid of Baba. Now, don't get me wrong, you should come to the table with respect for Baba. Absolutely.
Mhm, mhm,
But
mhm.
you definitely, when you start to work with her and you start to hear from her, she teaches with this gentleness and this kindness. And yeah, she kind of has that whole, like, don't go sticking your hand in the cookie jar kind of grandma moment. But like, also, she's there to teach you all the mysteries of life at the same time. And it's been just channeling her, even though I don't work with her personally, has been profoundly amazing to sit down and just listen to what she has to say. And
Yeah.
she's incredible. So, now, like I told you at the beginning before we started the interview, we do have a lot of questions, and I know that you were short on time, so we're gonna have to do a part two, because everything you
For
have said,
sure.
I think I've gotten like four questions in all the ones, and I don't want to, keep us hard on time, but I'm sitting here looking at all these, and I'm just like, where do I go from here? Because all of them are amazing. But the cool thing about this is, I guess, where I would like to kind of end at least part one of this is, in your research for this book, in working with Baba and channeling her while you were writing this book, what was some of the things that you found about her lesser known aspects that kind of surprised you? Maybe things that you didn't expect to see her want to bring forth into the world to be highlighted for everyone.
Well, I think, um, going in, I mean, there's so many things that were revealed. It's kind of amazing. I mean, the whole process of writing the book was really challenging because like my extent of my Ukrainian before the book. Now
Mm-hmm.
I'm speaking a little bit, but really all we spoke around the house was just food words, right? Like we called the food by its Ukrainian name
Yeah.
often. That was about it. And a couple little phrases and a couple little things. But really, my mom didn't speak Ukrainian. She understood it, but she didn't speak it. And my grandmother even spoke a dialect. I mean, she wasn't speaking what we would call the official language, but her dialect of her village, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I was doing the research, I had to learn gosh, I had to learn so much. I had to learn how to research in another language. I had to learn how to translate documents. And then I had to learn because Google Translate is not the best at
Google
translating some
Translate
of
is
these.
not our friend.
It can, I mean, I wouldn't say it's not my friend, but I would say it is a learning experience because some of the words translate weirdly because they'll take the more common usage of the and meaning of the word rather than the esoteric meaning of the word. So the whole process was challenging. And one of the things I think I learned that wasn't a specific thing that she taught me was her character, like who she is. And when I say she's an initiator, people are like, great, I want to be initiated. And I'm like, when people are going down that path, I'm like, great, that's awesome. But be prepared that you are going to work really hard. And the stories about her are about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the girl that comes to her asking for fire, she's not going to just give you fire.
No, you have to
You're going
earn
to have
it.
to show, yeah, exactly. You have to show that you're worthy of taking this very precious, magical, substance from her. She's not just going to give it to you. So I say, like, a lot of times people go to spirits and they just start asking for stuff, right? And they just give me this, give me that. But she really teaches you that reciprocity of you have to put in the work to get the goodies. But the goodies are really amazing. The goodies are really amazing. So I say it's like, I often compare her to like an Olympics coach. Like if you're going to do gymnastics in the Olympics, first of all, no coach is going to take you if you're, you know, not don't aren't Olympic material.
Right, of
Let's just
course.
say that, right? So if a spirit comes to you, they see something in you. If a spirit is coming to you, knocking at your door, even if Baba Yaga is like, gosh, I feel this real attraction to working with her. I'm so intrigued with her. That's kind of the spirit knocking at your door and saying, hey, I'm over here.
Mhm.
But once you open that door and you start to work with her, be prepared that you're going to work really hard. So, like a Olympics coach will say, okay, great. You've got what it takes. I see potential in you. But to get to the level where you're going to earn a gold medal in the Olympics, you're going to have to, be doing 12 hours a day, 7 days a week of gymnastics for the next 3 years.
Mhm.
So you may go in like I would go, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing." You're like so enchanted by the gold medal at the end that you go in, but when you start to do those exercises and workouts and training day after day, there comes a time when you're like, "Screw this. Do I really want it?" Right?
Yeah.
And if you don't really want it, then you'll quit, right?
Yes.
But if you really have that desire, you'll push through your natural resistance, whatever that is, and go deeper. So it was really interesting because she is such a taskmaster initiator. To work with her is not something you're just going to go, haha, this will be fun. I think you want to think about it before you do, not to discourage you. I think it's wonderful, but be like, prepare yourself, just like you would prepare yourself to be doing 3 years of training for the Olympics or climbing a high, high mountain.
Mhm.
You don't just go, oh, today I decided I'm going to climb Mount Everest. That will end badly
That
for
will
you.
end very badly. Don't just wake up tomorrow and do that.
So so, so I think that's one of the things that I learned with such an intimate spirit relationship is that you are going to put in your hours and there will be tears and there will be frustration and there will be times that you want to quit. But if you keep going, the rewards are phenomenal and amazing. And then you have, everything. I mean, you have then this wonderful spirit that when you are in need, that you can go to them and say, I need help with this thing. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I'm saying wow not just because that's beautiful, but also because it matches up to everything I've seen from her. And obviously, like I spoke before of, helping my coven mates to kind of work with her and to be that kind of voice box of Baba, basically. Um, and getting to witness those things with her and getting to see how she is that taskmaster and how she brings all of this in and she makes you do the very heavy work and makes you really earn it. And yes, it's uncomfortable. It's not fun. It does make you cry. It makes you just go, why on earth am I doing this to myself? And then you get to the end of it and you're just like, that was incredible. It hurt. It sucked. I'm tired. I want to go take a nap and eat a whole box of chocolates afterwards. But it's just one of those things that in that moment of just realizing the accomplishments that she helped you work through is just tremendous. And just from an outside perspective, it's incredible to watch and get to see and get to witness and get to help. But also being the person that gets to, have my coven mates come and be like, I need to discuss this thing that happened with Baba because I need to tell somebody about it and I need to talk about it and I need to just be excited and have somebody be excited with me, and getting to be that person for them is just so much fun. And it's so incredible to see how she works through that. And, I'm sitting here fangirling over Baba, even though Baba and I have, discussed working together in the past, but it wasn't quite the fit that I needed. I needed somebody else, and we were both okay with that in the end. But we decided basically the relationship's not for us, but we're going to remain friends. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
how it is with me and Baba. But she's an incredible deity, and I would say also with any incredible deity, especially a deity that has that kind of scary edge to their mythos, you should always go in with expecting work and expecting to do the work and expecting that you're going to have to put forth a lot of reverence to work with that deity, which you should with any deity. But a lot of the bigger, scarier deities, those are the ones that will ask for more. They are the ones that will say, hey, I would like X, Y, and Z. I would like you to put forth that effort to me. And I'm not saying that all deities won't, but I've noticed more with the ones that seem basically quote unquote scary. Those are the ones that are like, I'll help you, but you're going to earn it. You may
Yeah,
not like the
yeah,
path that I take you down, but you're going to be happy in the end. And I love
yeah.
the Olympic
And I
analogy
would,
used as well.
yeah, I would say, it's not that it's miserable the whole time. I
No,
want to kind of emphasize that there's hard work and frustration and tears, but there's also moments of beautiful discoveries. Like I felt like every day that I was researching for this book, I felt like I was entering into a cave of wonders and seeing amazing things and discovering amazing things. And and making new connections to things. It was gorgeous and beautiful. So it's just, that's the beauty of hard work
it
as
is the
well
beauty
as
of
the
hard
misery of
work.
hard work.
It absolutely is. Now, like I said before, we don't have time to unfortunately get through all the amazing questions, and I want to continue this conversation. And Baba is the one who actually helped me come up with the list of questions as I was reading your book. I asked her, I was like, hey, I'm going to have this interview. Decide what you want people to hear. So she helped with the list of questions, and unfortunately, we're not even going to get through them all. So you're going to have to come back for a part two, which I hope you will. And
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. I mean, this is such a wonderful, deep conversation. And I think that's also partly a Baba Yaga thing. You've got
yes,
to wait.
you gotta wait. You gotta wait for part two, everybody. So, now obviously, Madame Pamita, you are a wonderful author with many books out there. So, where can people find you? Where can they connect with you? Where can they learn from you? What classes are you offering? Kind of give everybody that quick kind of rundown of how they can connect with you.
Well, you can find me and all of the things that you mentioned above by going to parlorofwonders.com, Parlour. And that is my website where I have classes, do readings, my books. You can get signed books. Every month, I have a Slavic, what I call Slavic Sundays. It's the first Sunday of the month. I teach a class on Zoom. The classes are recorded, so if you can't make the live, you can either purchase the recording or reserve your space and then get the recording sent to you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to go deeper into Slavic lore and magic, there's a once a month opportunity. These classes are really fun. We've got all kinds of fun things, crossroads magic and weaving magic and fire magic and water magic and all of these different ways that are very unique to Slavic traditions. So yeah, so that's where you can find me. And my books are in all the places that you usually find books, but I do have signed copies that I personalize to you that you can get at Parlor of Wonders. So yeah.
Well, this has been absolutely wonderful. So, you're going to come back. We're going to get that all scheduled. So, everybody, stay tuned for part two of this wonderful conversation about Baba Yaga because Baba has a lot more to say and she definitely wants us to talk about it because she prepared a lot for it. So, we're going to come back eventually and we're going to have part two of this. So, stay tuned for that. But everyone, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a listener. Thank you for just being the wonderful humans that you are. Make sure you're being kind to yourself, be kind to each other, and take care of yourself in this crazy world because that's what you need as well. So, and Madam Hamita, again, thank you so much for being here. It's been an absolute joy and an honor. And everyone, I'll see you all next time for another interview. So, bye bye. Hello, friends. So, as you know, I do a lot of community work as well, in addition to the show. So if you're looking to deepen your practice with and connect with like-minded witches like myself, or even get your questions answered, you should join the Discord. And the Discord has this beautiful community that I have built, and it offers some really great opportunities for witches to connect. Once a month, we host Temple Hours. I know, silly name, but it's true. We host a open discussion where you can ask your witchcraft, paganism, or even spiritual questions. And if you're curious about deity work, spellcraft, or if you just want to chat with other fellow practitioners like myself, because I usually will be there. Temple Hours is a space where you can come and learn and grow. The other one that we offer is the Divine Gathering. So every week we host a public devotional circle to honor our gods, share offerings, and strengthen our spiritual connections with the divine. So no matter who you work with, no matter where you are in your practice, this is a time for reverence and community support. So you should totally come join us in the Raven's Nook. It's a great place. It's a warm community. It is very welcoming, very chill and relaxed. And if you want to join us, which I hope that you will, there's a link in the show description, and I can't wait to see you there. So take care, everyone, and I'll see you all next time.